The new channel. The new channel. Hashtag TNC Now.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following shows are those of the host, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Yes. Good morning. You caught me. You caught me. Uh, what do you call this? Unaware. And let me greet you. Hello and welcome to the new channel. Our passion transforms a community that sees all things new. I am Jesse Francis, Rebustillo, live streaming from Parañaque City. Good afternoon. You're watching HR Hotline, Season 8, Episode 144. This is the last episode for Season 8. Wonderful. 100. Yes, as I mentioned, this is the episode 144, the last episode of season 8. And that is wonderful. First, I would like to thank the Lord that although it took us quite some time, we were able to thrive in this pandemic. So thank you, Lord. You know, I have this Bicolano um, quote that says that payaba ka ni ina. Ina is Peña Francia. The other one is I would like to thank my friends who have been with me, my guests, the special guest later on, Mr. Jerry Plana, and of course, Obet Policarpio, and of course, Joan Rosary, and we can enumerate a lot of my friends from the HR and the training practice and profession whom I invited, and they shared a lot of their insights. And of course, I would like also to thank the management of the new channel. Yes, Apple Manansala and Erwin Manansala, and directors for um, keeping with me, tolerating, tolerating all the lapses, and no one is really perfect. You know, when it is a live stream, just like earlier, uh, I was still trying to share the the link, and I was already caught. And that is actually what you expect. And just let's man, what we have here. Yes. That is actually my helper telling me that there is an order and I have to pay. So that is actually what you call live, and you can hear the dogs barking. Actually, when I do live streaming, I have around 7 dogs with me. Now you can hear them, but I think they are a little bit disciplinado because there are 7, but you can only just hear, say, 1 or 2 reactions. They know that I am on a live stream. And this is one of those that I am actually, what do you call this, endorsing or influencing people who are actually in the online, that you have to be authentic. You know what you call it? You know what? That is what we call total online presence. Total online presence is you have to show your authenticity, which is why if you notice, I'm not using any background. It's actually my room, and this is the safest room, the soundproof room in my residence, because if you're going to be out, you will hear the chirping of the birds. So this is what one of those that I do trainings, I do webinars, I do even uh team building on online. But I use this place and I use this background. It shows who I am, which you're the the right side, the right brain in me. The right brain in me. The other one is a painting of my mom, and of course painting of Brando Bati. Okay. And of course you can see my bag there at my rocking chair, and I use that rocking chair. Before I sleep at night, I don't really have to lie down. Sit in that rocking chair. So what I'm telling you, if you're on live stream, if you're online, you have to show your authenticity, and that is actually knowing your what do you call this? Your emotional intelligence, your personality. Okay, so let us continue. We started the other day as we resume after a lull, because it we buried my mom in Bicol, and of course it was the holidays too. Um, we started last Saturday on the imperatives of HR, and I told my guests that we're going to continue it today. But I think I only have my dear friend and my mentor and my for the longest time, may ano yan eh, ka conversation. On the imperatives of HR. I'm really keen on this topic because a lot of my students who are actually working now have been texting me. There are a lot of things to do because it's the start of the year, but what are really the priority? What is actually the imperative, the command? What is actually needed? Considering everything that it is the start of the year, considering that you must have done your strategic planning, or you must have done your business continuity, not even with your organization, but with HR already. And then, what are the things that you need to focus, wherein the pandemic is raging and we're expected to be home? Wag pong pasaway. A lot of us would like to be working on site, but I think the situation demands that we have to be home. Of course, I still go out to buy a little, go to the drugstore or to the wet market, but of course, using all the PPE. So, what did we discuss last time? It's more on workforce planning. Actually, we call it workforce planning on the hybrid or the hybrid or the hybrid or the hybrid arrangement that we need to do. If I would like to remind you that actually the Telecommunications Act was was signed in 2018, and PMOP and as president in 2016, and IPP in 2017. I was engaged in crafting that when Dole was inviting people for their what do you call this, hearings. And I remember that I made a lengthy speech telling them that uh, people should be ready before it should be signed. And then I was just assured that there will be IIR. But lo and behold, it came. Nobody was actually thinking that the pandemic will come. So we discussed that. So this time we're going to the details, and I mentioned one of those will be on what what about the culture that we're going to do? What about the training that we will do? So at this point, let me call on my guests. If you have one, but I am very sure uh, past president of PMAP, Jerry Plana, is with us. Can we call them now direct? Yeah. Good thing we, I really would like that we are full in the screens, but it would be nice if I only have a couple guests so that we can really discuss and converse malalim. Okay, Jerry, thank you very much for joining us today.
My
Yes.
pleasure, Jesse. Yeah.
Okay, so we started last time on discussing that one of the imperative is actually coming up with a plan on who will be working from home, working on site, and changing the mindset. I remember you were so emphatic that the 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 point is to convince management that it is the need. It's not even the need. It has to be institutionalized, this hybrid arrangement. Okay. So last thought on this before we continue with training now.
Okay, Jesse. Hi, Jesse. Great to be back here. I just wanted to say that when we take a look at hybrid models, remote working is not really a very new concept. As a matter of fact,
Right.
this was discussed even long before in the 80s, even as early as the 80s. No, so the only thing that really changed today was the extensive use of hybrid. I mean, of remote working. There was one thing I learned today about hybrid. I realized that if you're looking at the provinces, there is a propensity for people at the provinces to go back to the office. Okay, and probably the reason for that is they have very short commutes and they have technology issues in the provinces. No? So it's very hard to capitalize the full benefit of remote working if technology is not working too well. So I think in the metro it's a little bit different because of the long commutes and the right technologies. We have the right technologies. That's why there is now a demand from some employees that they want to continue their remote working, even if
Yes.
it's already safe to go back to the office. And
Yes.
this is where the discussion of hybrid comes into the picture.
Yes.
Because if we don't do that, we will lose our
Yeah,
talented
and that
people.
is what we call the Great Resignation.
That's
The
right.
phenomenon. The
That's
Great
what's
Resignation.
happening now. Yes,
Yes.
that's right.
And that really include, I don't know with you, but that already included me. Somebody was asking me to do a face to face, and I refused. I refused already.
Even in training, okay, even in training, you're requested for in person, but you say, can we do it on Zoom? Yeah.
Okay. By the way, Lillian is watching us, and she's happy. Lillian, hello. Lillian used to be our manager in PSTD. Lillian, hello, and thank you for mentioning that you can hear my dogs, and how are your dogs also? Virgin Mendoza is here. By the way, let us congratulate PP Jerry Virgin Mendoza.
Hmm.
We just had the PMAP election was concluded yesterday. So congratulations to PP, no, 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 President-elect Ellen Falido, and then
Yes,
Vice President Beth Nasol. Yes, yes.
yes, congratulations, everyone.
Yes,
Yeah,
and Virgie here is a secretary. Yes. Okay. And of course, we have Edna Gonzalez. Thank you for watching and then listening to us. Okay. So that's right. That's right. You know, organizations now, especially if you are having what you call valued employees, or are now used to working from home, it has to be considered by management because this can be one of the reasons why they are going to leave and then just let go because they do want to work on site.
yeah.
Yes.
Jesse, it's important to know, Jesse, that probably when we reflect on hybrid, this is really directly connected to well-being. I
Yes,
think
yes,
the reason why people are opting for hybrid is because they want to have a more balanced life. They want to take care of their total, their family life. It's important now, their personal life and so on and so forth. Like for instance, in my case, take my case for instance, because I'm working from home ever since. I have time for exercise. Okay, because I drop the long commute hours. It
yes,
takes me about 3 hours a day back and forth going to the office. Can you
yes,
imagine 3 hours of your day you now can use more productively? I can exercise, I can study, I can reflect better, and so on and so forth. I can sleep more. These are the things that
same
are
here,
good for your well-being, isn't it?
same
So
here,
it is a
same
pro
here.
well-being thing. As a matter of fact, there's so many advantages even for hybrid, even contribution to climate change, issues because we will
Yes,
have less fuel consumption. There's so
yes.
many, so
The carbon
many,
footprint, the carbon
I think that
footprint.
we
Yes,
need to
yes.
capitalize on. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I hear you mention about it was really long ago wherein you have to do. I remember. I can still remember. I think the name is Mayoy. He is from Ginubatan. As not around 10 years ago, she works in Europe. She was telling us that they are not actually working anymore in offices. They're just actually being called for meetings, and then they submit their output. But let us discuss first. What are those functions that should really be can be uh, work from home? One of which is HR, accounting, and of course research, and maybe all those that those you can bring your information or data at home. You can do it, diba, Jerry? So
Yes.
so
Yes.
is yon. But what I'm leading to is the mindset, is the mindset that uh, you just have to, yun nga, sinabi mo na nga na it is about yung well-being, but it is actually the mindset that you can do it while you are at home.
Yes. One of the things that the pandemic did to us was it made us rethink uh, the world of work itself was re-examined, no? And if you notice, when we take a look at our own work, there are parts of our work we can do individually, and there are parts that should be done collaboratively with others. And I think
Right.
this is where the dividing line comes in, because
Yeah.
now we can say probably if you need to do individual work, it's best done remotely at home or anywhere where you feel you can focus on that. And
Yes.
then probably you need to have an office space or something like that if you need to collaborate in person with the rest of the team. And for many organizations, they have defined hybrid in many ways. No? Hybrid can be, let's just meet in person once a week or twice a week.
That is actually my
To,
definition of hybrid. You only do it
to
when
some,
you're
some
needed.
organizations meeting only once every quarter for two or
Yeah.
3 days.
Yes.
Depends on what is the need for productivity for work being done, no, either individually or collaboratively.
Okay, okay. So that is where we start now. How do we change that mindset? How do we change that mindset that there is now a need, say, for management to really think about changing the processes and changing yung decision making? Tell
That's
us,
right.
Jerry.
That's right. The mindset is probably the biggest challenge for leaders and managers now, because if you are going to lead effectively in a hybrid world or on hybrid work arrangement, I think we have to drop many of our old mindset about counting the hours, counting the activities. Rather than
Right.
that, the
Good.
output, performance. Let's make sure that people are self-driven, that they love what they do, and so on and so forth. So those are very big shifts
Okay.
that
I, I,
leaders
I
need
got
to
I
do.
got three from you, Jerry, and we start. So the first one is actually on reckoning the time. And then and alam mo manganganak yan, it's actually we're leading into rewards, no? So reckoning the time is, I don't know, Jerry, we're of the same generation. I can still remember when I was in college, we were already being taught MBO, management by objectives. I
Yes,
don't
yes.
know. Yes.
Yeah,
So so dapat ibalik natin yung MBO kasi it's not actually reckoned anymore by the time that you are there. You just say reading the newspaper, taking breakfast, putting on your lipstick, and then you work for an hour. Hindi na ganoon. Talaga ngayon, you're given the what is
that's
your to
right.
do, what is your objective, and then you finish it. Di ba ganun, Jerry?
That's right. You know, our concept of 100% working in the office is a concept that was gotten from the Industrial Revolution, mass
Right.
assembly. You know,
Yes.
mass assembly. You needed to see people there. You know, there is the mindset of proximity bias, we call it. You know, you feel you can control if you can see people. I think we have to drop that already, because I think, you know, we need to trust and make people more autonomous, treat them as real adults, but give them an exciting job and roles, and be very clear about deliverables. I think that's where the shift of the mindset and the practices should go to.
So am I right, Jerry, that the first thing they have to do is look into the objective setting? Actually, I get it from Mercer. I know that DDI is also giving this, and I know your outfit, your investors in people, you go with this objectives. So yan
Yes,
muna
yes.
siguro, Jerry. So it is not anymore the 8 to 5, but more on what you are supposed to accomplish for the day.
Yeah, because, you know, if you follow our traditional way of working of 9 to 5, for instance, presumes that everyone works at their best 9 to 5. Remember, as individuals, we have different prime times. Some are morning people, some are evening people, and so on and so forth. So with the remote working now, this is now put into consideration, because, you know, you don't have to work within certain fixed time. You must have some latitude, some freedom, for as long
Right.
as you can do certain deliverables. Because working in your prime time, if your prime time is, let's say, 7 to 9 p.m., assuming, then when you put your most complicated work in 7 to 9, you can be the most productive, because that's your prime time. In the same way, if your prime time is 5 to 7 in the morning, then, you know, you might as well use that and do most of the work that you need to do, so you don't have to
Believe me.
follow some standard time for you to be able to work, you know, which was a traditional, you know, way of working, pre-pandemic way of
I
working.
Jerry, believe me, my prime time is actually between 9 o'clock in the evening to 12 o'clock midnight.
Yes, yes, you are a night person, that's right.
Person. Well, when
That's
you try to call me, well, I will coming up with proposals, coming up with slides. That is the best time that I can really do it. My brain is actually working. Anyway, so ang una muna is look into that change, that it will not be anymore reckon yung time in and time out. Di ba, Jerry? That is the imperative now. So,
yes.
so for all those that are HR are listening, try to look into this. Maybe not today, but look into that we have to change not only the mindset, the process of reckoning yung what do you call it, presence, the time. That it's not the productivity. So with
Yeah,
that siguro, Jerry, lalabas susunod diyan after, diba, yung time, and then it will follow yung compensation and rewards, kasama na siguro yung performance.
yeah, I think when we go into full hybrid, and I think that is the direction we're going to take. Some might be ahead with it, and others will probably follow, because if you don't have it, nobody wants to work for you eventually. I
Mm.
mean, that's going to be the employee value proposition, I say, the new and exciting employee value proposition to attract the talent that you need, by providing them with flexible work arrangements.
Mhm.
I think there's so many implications for leadership. We said that leadership mindset and
Yes.
the skills will really be different. Even the way we organize the organization might have to be revisited. We cannot
Yeah.
operate in a hierarchy and have a lot of remote teams working, for instance. We probably need to adopt a new way of organizing. We don't need tall hierarchies anymore. Or the way we compensate our people will have to change, probably. Leaders will have to play new roles. Most of the work will have to be probably delegated to work teams who work remotely. probably leaders, we need to assume more mentoring and coaching roles, and strategic thinking roles and things like that. So I think there's going to be a lot of shift. That's why I'm very biased about, if you want to be HR to influence, to have a high influence on things right now, I think we should work closely with our leaders, because that is where the multiplying effect happens.
Okay, so this is what I got. So first, look into how we reckon our productivity, our timing, our presence in the organizations. So it will be the mindset now, Jerry. It's more on roles. It's more on your results, and then the outcome and the impact, which is actually RBF, results based management. So that is the first thing. A change from the 8 to 5 thinking. Now it's more of the results, or the management objective. The second one is trying to look into the structure. So maybe, Jerry, in some organization there will now be, what is a term for that? A structure that for those who can be on a hybrid, they now try to transform into that structure, and those that a little bit that still requires on site, they can still retain it until such time they're ready to transform into a
Yeah,
new structure. What is that? What is that? There is a call for autocracy. It's innovative,
adhocracy, adhocracy.
adhocracy.
I think the concept now is, I think we need to look at work being done by teams. So it's not just, we used to do hierarchy, and a lot of our performance appraisal and things like that were based on one, the manager and the managed. I think we have to get away from that and really try to mobilize teams, people who can work with teams, complement each other's capabilities, because a lot more can be done by teams. No, so when you do remote, probably a team member will get more support and guidance, and from team members rather than from a boss. I think that's where the teams will need to be capitalized on to do most of the work that needs to be done.
So
And that's
that's really,
why the shift of organization from hierarchies to more network type of organization, networks by teams, more and more teams.
but by the way, Obet and Gilbert are watching us. Jerry Darling. Can you join us in the chat? In the chat, but si Obet, he has the link. Si Gilbert pala. Hello, hello, Gilbert. Yeah, you're right, right, Jerry. So Jerry, ang nakikita ko ulit, ha, ang the shift from that, it's not even mindset anymore. They really have to do it now. One is the shift in the process of trying to reckon time, productivity, and performance. The other one is trying to look into the structure, and I think this is the best time because it is the time for uh, strategic planning, and try to review on the structure, and then look into really your your vision and your mission, what you're supposed to do, and then of course the objectives, and cascade that into the to-dos. And then the third one is actually the leadership that you mentioned earlier, and that it's, I think, the challenge, because now we are now going to leading into culture. Sige, pasok
Yes.
natin yan, Terry. Tama. Di
Yeah.
ba, when it comes to, kasi basta nag-usap na ng leadership, it's more of trying to develop or start a culture. Ang una muna, Jerry, I would like to ask you, what will be the shift in the culture? Everybody's discussing that, pero hindi naman talaga nahihit kung ano ba talaga ang umpisa pag-shift ng culture.
There is some discussion going on right now that says that it's very hard to build culture virtually. That's why we
Right.
need to go all back to the office.
Yeah.
There's that proponent.
Okay.
I
So
think
that is
that that's one argument. No, we need to all go back to the office because it's very hard to build a strong culture virtually.
yes.
But I'd like to say that probably we've not given virtual a real good chance, because we can have our ways of connecting also virtually, especially with new technologies now on the horizon, like metaverse. I don't know if you've heard the word metaverse, where it
I
combines augmented reality with virtual reality with yung mga hologems, yung mga ganon,
yes, yes,
where we can really connect even virtually. It is as if we are there, really, as
yes,
person. I think where technology is moving fast in that area, I think we can sustain connection. There are ways of connecting ourselves even virtually, and thus preserve a strong culture as well. No?
yeah.
So
And
because if you have a hybrid setup, you don't need to be in person all the time. You probably need to understand the nature of your work, and what are those moments where you need to be in person as a group. Like this one company that I say, they meet only once a quarter, but they meet for 3 days. Okay, where they do a lot of in person, and then after that they do remote working. So it really depends on what is needed, and I think leaders should be open to that, because that is where we're all going now. And I
yeah.
think it's very hard to go back to pandemic days.
Jerry, let's do a little bit personal experience. I think it's doable because although I went home for a while in Bicol, but uh, I have nieces in the States, nephews all over Bicol, but we are already having a what do you call and would you call that culture or a practice wherein we are connected by Viber and by Messenger and by Zoom?
That's right.
And then we enjoy birthdays. We enjoy last time they were trying to
Yeah.
share the
So
old clothes of my mom. Let me tell you about this. They were trying to My sister was trying to share the old clothes of my mom, and then there was what you call a Zoom
yes.
wherein and everybody was actually enjoying, trying to say mine, this is mine, this is so. I think we're starting even the family is starting a culture of closeness while not wala yung proximity, wala yung face to face. 'Di ba? If we
Yeah.
can do it with our
I
family,
think I
siguro we
think
can do
Jesse, we
it.
just need to get used to it. I think we
Yeah.
just need to get used to it. We're still early in, I think we need to really give it a good chance.
Yeah. I think so, Jerry. And that is
I think that's
actually
what we need, because 2 years being in this situation is a long time to form new habits, new ways of working already.
mhm. Mhm. So I think there is ang key here are the leaders. They must really make it a point and make it something of a practice wherein start a culture of being still close. And they can still have to identify that maybe the culture that people like malasakit or say kindness, but they can do it say using technology.
Yeah, you do team building yourself online, isn't it, Jesse?
Yes, I
Di ba?
did. I did a team building online, and it was so successful. And somebody was crying, somebody was actually realizing things.
You know,
So it's
you know,
just a matter of
I'll tell you something. I had a conversation with one client recently, and one of their observations during the pandemic was they had better meetings online than when they had in-person meetings. It was more direct to the point. It was very productive. People were really listening to each other. So that's one of the benefits, the good side of technology.
one thing, Jerry. You cannot really talk at the same time, and you are on Zoom or
Precisely,
online.
precisely. So
So
you
that
you are more respectful.
yes, so that is the culture that that they should start. And of course, if you will not talk, you will be you will be forgotten. You will be out of the loop. So you really have to say a piece or two during the meeting. So that's another
Yeah.
culture that is
So
being
one of the biggest mindsets that leaders and managers need to break now is the what I call proximity bias. You know,
yes.
uh, I want to see you. I want to be near you to know whether you're working or not. You know, I think we need to break away from that. That is going to be the greatest challenge for managing in a hybrid environment.
Okay. But Jerry, we still have to consider also, because I'm reading Josie Dorado's comment. There are some work that really need to be on site. The
Oh yes,
frontliners, the
definitely,
frontliners.
definitely.
But
There will be some that may not lend to remote. Then that's part of the hybrid arrangement. Probably you have several who wants full remote, full on site because that's the nature of their job, and a lot of them in between hybrid.
okay. So can we go on some details on what should be the training that should be given now?
For leaders.
We're talking of imperatives. So these are the things that HR should do now. Say for leaders, what are the things that they should? Of course, not. I still have a. This is funny. I still have a, a webinar on business writing, but I am changing entirely the content, because I would like to update it that it's a business writing at this time of the pandemic. So, but this is actually not so important. So, what are the things that are really imperative for training now?
Okay, you know, if I were HR now, and I mentioned this in our episode last week, I would be very concerned with the how leaders are behaving
Right,
towards interacting with their people, especially remote workers. No, so I may not start immediately with the training program. I might start just with facilitating a
right.
conversation that asks people what their experiences are in terms of dealing with their people these days. What are the challenges that they're facing? So it becomes more of a conversation. I'm more prone now to conversations as a method of training, just a conversation as a way of training. I
So,
think
will
it's a
this be
good way to
asynchronous
start.
or synchronous, Jerry? Sorry for interrupting. Should this be one-on-one asynchronous, or is it synchronous? You call the, say, small group, but it is on a Zoom.
Yeah, synchronous. We can start with synchronous. You can have a group meeting. You can just ask for a meeting on that, and probably agree on two things: how should we lead during these times, and how do we monitor ourselves to be able to be true to what we said, how we should lead. It can be a simple conversation like that, which can be facilitated by HR, and you can meet weekly or whatever and facilitate that conversation. I think that's a great way of making sure that
Okay,
the employee experience during this time doing remote work is going still to be good, so
okay.
that people
So,
don't
so
resign as a
we will
result.
not be get lost. Ang gusto mong
Yeah.
sabihin, Jerry, para yung focus group discussion niya noon.
Yes, that's right. So
Mm.
HR can do that. The other thing that HR can do, he can pick on several employees and have just an FGD and say, "What are you going through today?" People are going through a lot today, and they need
This is
coaching and
wonderful.
mentoring. They need
Yeah.
somebody to talk to make big decisions. That's the reason why there's a
Hindi
big
hindi malaki,
presentation.
hindi malaki. Siguro a group not more than 10, so that
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
can share.
yeah. You know why there was a big, great resignation in the US? Because people went through a lot of reflection, and probably they did not have anybody to talk to in their companies. That's why they
Oh,
decided
that
to
is
resign.
happening now. That is happening now.
Precisely, precisely. Employees are beginning to understand that they want more, they want better. They're not going to put up with a toxic work environment that they came from, and that's
Right.
why they're looking for decisions. They're going for decisions that will promote their own well-being.
Okay. And but HR must be able to come up with a plan. It is just not it's not a random or sporadic thing that they call a meeting and then dapat
Yeah,
plano rin to. It
that's
has to
right.
be an OD thing. It's an OD program on
That's right.
what are the
And
questions,
yeah,
the
and you
right
should have
question.
your line manager at your side. No, your president, for instance, should be onboarded into that meeting as well.
Right. So this is more on things. So the focus now will be on leaders, and then the training now will be more of an FGD. They can just ask somebody if they're not used to it, somebody who is trained to facilitate. Kasi
That's right.
dapat ililid mo rin.
That's
Ililid
right.
mo rin.
So you can just ask questions and then you can end with some action plans. It's a conversation. You can have a series of conversations that you facilitate, and that will replace formal training for the meantime until because you cannot just do one formal training over the other. No, have a conversation and end with some actions and
And
some
maybe
agreement
this can be cascaded into to
with the
the
rest.
employees.
Yes, yes. So these are some quick actions that doable actions that HR can do and become more impactful during this time to the business.
Yes. And then they can just agree on what time they can just meet. That is also the problem now, because we haven't changed the mindset. When we try to come up with some meetings, we ask for polls, and then it takes a lot of time. Maybe
That's
it's
right.
only one person who cannot really attend it, but sometimes the meeting is really
That's right.
it's disrupted. So
So
isang
this is
culture pa rin yun.
so this is where the HR should assume the role of coach and mentor. I think this is one of those few times that we should rise up to that role. Aside from the many things that we do transactionally and administratively, I think we need to do this to be a value-adding member of the management team.
Oh yeah, of course, given yung mga administrative, of course, you still
Yeah,
have to pay their salaries. Of course, you still have to
yeah.
ang daming mga ang daming requirements ng Dole, Jerry, ngayon. Ang daming
I know, I
requirements.
know. Precisely, yeah. You need to do that, but do not put all your energies there because you need to go into high impact activities like this one.
Yeah. Kasi
Like
ang
for
mas
instance, the other thing that I can think of is the quality of the town hall meetings, on Zoom. I think HR should intervene there because this is the time that we need to communicate a lot more often, regularly, and really tell employees what's happening to the organization and what kind of assistance they can give on their own. I think we should be able to do that and not just be secretive among just a few people in the organization.
it has to be transparent,
Right.
and then the regular that the leadership must be able to meet the group to give assurance that the organization is still thriving. There is a comment here. Uh, it's true, Sir Jesse and Jerry. There are more opportunities this pandemic time. There are relevant opportunities for startups in times of crisis. It is from Anne Hernandez. And of course, from Josie's small group, the centralization should be consolidated. Yes, yes. So kailangan yun eh. So Jerry, uh, what are your thoughts on this? Yung traditional coaching and mentoring parang dapat i-tweak muna. It has to be kasi parang it will not be appreciated at this time. What are your thoughts on this?
You're referring to coaching and mentoring not appreciated at this.
Oo.
Uh,
Coaching needed kasi there is a shift from the platforms. They're now working from home. So it is needed that that the supervisor must be able to coach their employees, their subordinates on how to do it. And how to do it working from home. Di ba yung coaching kailangan yun? Sino magko-coach nun?
Remember, when we define coaching in its truest terms now, it's a lot of listening and asking questions. Huh? So that is the kind of coaching that I'm referring to now, and I think more and more leaders should get into this mode of not just dictating a lot of things, but really engaging the employees in terms of what needs to be done.
Oo. Yung para bang
Evaluation.
mag-change yung traditional coaching na yung coaching para bang nag-evaluate, you're just trying to see if the employees is doing right or wrong. Parang hindi.
Coaching really treats individuals as adults.
Oo.
I think that's the philosophy behind. I want to treat you as an adult, and I want to. It's an adult to adult. Yung transactional analysis dati sinasabi, adult to adult. I'm listening to you. I respect your views. I'm helping you arrive at the solutions to your problems. I think that is the kind of mode that leaders should have, rather than just give a lot of instructions.
That is
In,
most
in, you know,
needed now. That
current,
is most needed kasi and not all of those who are working from home are really good in working from home. Pag yung like integration or just how to do it. So kailangan may magko-coach. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that
and you can ask. You can have a conversation question. By asking good questions like, how are you going through? What are some of the challenges you're meeting in doing your work at home? Is there something I can do to help you with? And so on and so forth. Ganun dapat ang interaction with the employees,
so
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 that
the one who should trigger this is actually HR by reminding supervisors and leaders to really
yeah, HR can drive it.
Mm, 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 mm.
HR can drive it because the leaders might not know how to do it. They might not have been trained for it. So and it's HR's business to be able to help in this area. You don't have
Oh,
to do it
so
yourself,
kailangan
but
ng trainers training yan, coach training, trainers
and then,
training.
and then you can just have a learning bite. Let's have a 1 hour learning bite on coaching among leaders, and then you do it, and then let's reflect on the experience. Ganong klaseng training na ang dapat gawin. Hindi na yung let's go have 2 days, 3 days. It does not have to be that way anymore.
Ay,
It can be
oo,
1
hindi na
hour.
kailangan. Training
Oh,
bite.
1 hour, 2 hours, and then let's apply it. Ganon. And then let's reflect on it. Ganon na dapat ang
Oh,
ang
so
takbo.
coaching
Mabilis.
is I got it from you. Coaching is more on performance and what regard to do. Yung mentoring is more on their health, on their mental sort of their situation, on the
Total.
directions.
It's more total.
So ganun
It's
din.
more, no,
Ganun
it's
din.
more total. Yeah.
So
It's
it's
more total.
imperative. So it's imperative, Jerry, na dapat aside from that one of the online FGD wherein they can have conversations, HR should actually trigger a what do you call this? A movement, a campaign, or a something that they have a program wherein there should be extensive coaching and mentoring at this time.
Yes. One of the best ways of describing the pandemic experience and the role of leaders as far as their employees are concerned is the word languishing. It's a word that has been described as what a lot of people are experiencing during the pandemic. We are languishing.
Right.
Languishing means we're lacking energy, we're lacking life. Parang, and yet you're not really depressed, but you're just in between. You're languishing, but you're not happy. You're in between, and I think the role of the leader is to get people out of the languishing state into a flourishing state. Mean to say, when people are
I
active,
love that. I love
excited, and energetic, and pursuing worthwhile goals, and so on and so forth. That is the role of leadership now.
I love that. But Jerry, I would like this personal. I'll be honest with you, even with myself. There are times that I have that I'm so blessed that I have a garden and I have dogs.
Yes.
It's actually puts myself back into that what do you call this happy note. But that term languishing that is actually needed, and that's actually on that program of mentoring if they don't know siguro. So, pero Jerry, ang mahirap nun if the mentors is actually experiencing it.
Well,
Kailangan
you need to ask somebody to help you if you're also in trouble.
Oo. So,
We can mentor each other. We can mentor each other. Like if I have problems, I'll ask you, Jesse, can you talk to me? I mean,
right.
we need we need a
Sino mag-uumpisa niyan, Jerry? Sino mag-uumpisa?
dapat HR in the organization.
Dapat
HR should start it. HR should champion it.
Right.
And that's the role of HR.
So everybody who is listening here from me and Jerry, and dami. These are imperatives dapat gawin, ha? This is just on the OD side, on training on the OD side. What I got from Jerry is that one, you must do online conversations, not too many. It's similar to the FGD, but of course, we have to really, what I get from Jerry is the right questions, and that, and then dapat somebody should be really experienced and be taught. And the other one is, I don't know, is trigger and then have a program right away on coaching, on things, on what they need to do. Di ba? Just imagine yung Jerry, yung pagising lang sa umaga, yung ano, yung routine in the day, it has to be coach. It has to be coach.
Yeah.
It has to be coach.
You know,
Um,
one of the critical skills that leaders need to develop is the power of questions. Because sometimes we get things done through statements and instructions, but do you know that a good question is even a more powerful motivator? And I think that's where, you know, and leaders need not know all the answers. Let's face it, no leader knows all the answers. That's why they need to be framing good questions to mobilize action, to mobilize people.
right. And then aside from coaching, when it comes now to life and yung mentoring, and it has to be done now because everybody is, we're experiencing it, Jerry.
Yes.
We are working from home. So that's actually. So ang dami na namin na discuss po ni Jerry. So tingnan natin, Jerry, yung ano. So aside from OD, do we still have to look into yung what do you call this, yung performance? Kasi di ba everybody, kaya ang isang mahirap i-change ang mindset is that what the reason why we need to have to face kasi there is no yung trust. Para bang you are not sure if they're doing it right or they're doing it on time. So kailangan mo na dapat i-monitor. Tapos kailangan mo na dapat tingnan kung what they're doing is actually following your instructions. So this is more on the performance management. What are your thoughts on this?
One thought I have there is the traditional performance management system of is very individual oriented. And I
Right.
think if we stick to that, we will be limiting ourselves. I think we need to frame or craft performance management systems that are team oriented. I think it's time to make teams work for us, collaboration, and make these teams more self-managing. Make them, give them major decisions to do in terms of how they want to work, where they want to work, how they want to do work. And the manager provides all the support and the training and the advice. The team needs to be more autonomous. I think that is the kind of shift that needs to happen to make remote working work.
Right. Oh, naku, very important yun. I remember, I can recall, Jerry. Remember, I used to, di ba? I worked in Inquirer before, and then I was the VP in classified ads, and under me is actually the production unit. There is that shift. Nag-shift ako nung, Jerry, kasi at that time it was more of a one-on-one, personalized yung incentives. Hindi nakakatapos kasi we need to finish the page at a certain time of the day. So
Yes.
ang ginawa ko, Jerry, yun yung sinasabi mo. It's more of a team effort. Para bang the team must be working that at 4 o'clock tapos. And then
That's
you
right.
get the incentive. Dapat
Okay.
ganun.
I'll give you a very dramatic, simple example, Jesse, of this point that I'm trying to make. If we take a look at a basketball game, okay, yung nakaka-shoot ng bola, yun ang individual work. Hindi pwedeng yung nakaka-shoot ng bola, yun lang ang i-reward mo. Yun lang ang hero. Because remember, for every shot that is made, there is somebody who assisted that person. Yung assist. Sa basketball, binibilang na rin yung assist.
Right.
Without the assist, you will not shoot the ball. Without a good assist, you will not shoot the ball. And this is where the the concept of team happens. Can you imagine if, say, from now on, we will just give you individual rewards. Yung nakaka-shoot lang ang reward namin. Yung mag-assist, hindi na mag-assist yun. Then it will destroy the entire productivity of the group.
Right.
This is where we need to say, look at the situation now as collaboration and teams because they're able to produce a lot more. Kaya lang, most of our traditional performance management systems do not really set goals for teams. They set goals for individuals.
Yun na nga, eh. Kaya
Precisely.
nag-shift.
Oh, very
Yeah,
individual-oriented.
yun na nga. So dapat yung pala imperative yun, dapat mag-change ka agad noon. From
Yes,
individual to team.
to teams. Yeah.
Now, yung tanong na ikaw nagtanong nito, sasagutin mo ulit para marinig nila. So which should be really ang dapat ma-reward yung working from home or working on site? Yeah, that's a nice question.
Well, I think yun nga eh, 'di ba, pag baka mangyari sa rewards natin, compensation, yung mga working in the office gets more preferential treatment than those working from home. Eh magkakagulo yung organization,
Right,
no?
right.
I think this is something that needs to be thought through, no? Because it will have compensation implications, it will have organization design implications, leadership, and so many things. Ang hindi, what many HR do not realize, as a result of this pandemic, we need to really revisit a lot of our HR practices.
Mhm. Right. Right.
Even this concept of career management and succession management, we cannot rely on having a target position that may not be there 3 years from now.
Right. Right.
So, so how do we develop leaders of the future?
Yeah.
So when we're living in a very, in a situation that is continuously changing.
Right. Right. So even that one of yung potential, di ba? When you say about succession planning, trying to get the performers and the potential, but yung kanilang individual development plan, titingnan natin kasi where are they leading to? Kasi sinabi mo nga, baka yung papapunta nila ay wala na ron. Wala naman pala.
Yeah, so you cannot prepare for a specific position. And you don't know what new jobs positions will float in the next 3, 4, 5 years as a result of automation and things like that.
That's the basic thing that they really need to go back into their competencies that will be needed in the future.
That's right. And even if it's the same position, the competencies might change.
Yes.
So how do you develop? So what sort of career development program? How do you develop people of the future, leaders of the future? We'll have to change as well.
But I like that. We are almost time na natin, Jerry. But I like that what you call me, that there should really be a review, a program's review of what they are doing, and then the thinking is that they must not dream that they can go back to what they were doing before the pandemic, and then review it to really transform. I think the word is transform, Jerry. Transform everything that we do into something that will be doable siguro, na magagamit in the future, but not go back. Ano masasabi mo niyan, Jerry?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. We need to be more imaginative. We need to be more creative because that's the only way to move forward.
Yeah. Teka muna. So, saan ang mag-uumpisa niyan, Jet? Before I ask you to do your parting message, saan mag-uumpisa? Dapat pag-aralan ng HR yung operation siguro. What will be the next thing that the company or the organization will be doing?
Well, you should be able to do that in your strategic planning sessions, isn't it? And the business could change. Yeah. Strategies could change radically. That's why it's good for HR to participate in that strategy process, no? Strategy development process, because you need to be there. You need to see how strategies change so that you can change the culture in the organization with it. Because if you change the strategy and you don't do anything about people and organization, I don't think you will ever achieve the strategy. Because your culture and organization is your execution ability.
Ang example ko lang nakikita ngayon which is happening now, I don't know if they did it, say yung mga HR sa hotels, na they used to be, say, a resort, a spa, or they used to be a hotel. Now they are an isolation center. Now they are a quarantine center.
Precisely. So how
So
will
that
that
changed.
how will that change? So what kinds of skills are impacted by that? What kinds of values need to be in place to be able to do that, and so on and so forth. So lahat mag-iiba.
Oo, mag-iiba talaga. Mag-iiba yung ano mag-iiba yung iniisip. So, ang dami natin. Thank you, Jerry. Alam mo, what we discuss will actually be, ito na nga yung sabi natin dalawa. This is for our love for PMAP and love for the HR profession. Dapat kasama natin dito si Gilbert nga at si Obet because I know nandiyan sa puso natin. Ang dami nang dumaan sa atin, Jerry, but we are still into this. Okay. Okay. Can we have your parting message, Jerry? Because it's already 1:01.
Okay, yeah, just a very short parting message. I think this is another golden opportunity for HR to prove what we can do for the organization. And I think we need to take the challenge because I know we have in our arsenal a lot of things that we can do to create the impact that we need to create so that the organizations can recover and thrive in a new world order. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Nako, my mentor, my friend, my kaututan dila. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last episode of season 8 and we'll have a break. Thank you very much for watching. And what sets a nice conclusion for HR Hotline? And then let me what do you call it, summarize what we discussed last Saturday and today. It's one is we have to really change our mindsets and really uh, review the programs that we have in HR. One of which is look into how we reckon the salary. Is it still on time? Yeah, it has to now to you have to review it and make sure that it's more on the results, the outcome, and the impact. It's more of the MBO. And then of course you have to look into how the changes in your compensation system. So that is the first one. The other one is look into the structure. Of course, not drastic, but look into the structure because it's happening already. Some are working from home. Some are actually on site. So you look at the structure. Uh, it's only now that I recall that the advice that I can give you is look into the JD, the job descriptions. It will have to it is supposed to change because if the JD was actually done before the pandemic, now that they're working from home, there is actually a change in the task that listen on the responsibility areas, and make sure your job analysis or your JDs actually is updated, wherein there are already KRAs identified and there are KPIs identified, so that you have measures and then you can actually adapt what we discussed, with Jerry and I discussed on what you call your objectives. You cannot really reckon MBO if you don't know your measures and you don't know your KPIs. So that is one, and then the other one is more on the training and on OD. The imperative is actually to quickly organize. The term is still FGD, but it is online FGD. But look into the right questions, and then start an extensive program on coaching because of the performance that they're doing now. It's actually changed. And of course, mentoring, because everybody, I love what Jerry mentioned earlier, languaging. Okay. So, and then of course, the last one is to look into the directions of 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 the organization, because that actually includes now your IDP, individual development plans for your succession, and of course that includes you, and of course what are the competencies that will be needed. So a lot of things that you need to, you can just call Jerry or you can just call me. Let's start a conversation. If you're going to share this and you're going to listen, this is the high time. I really appreciate what Jerry mentioned in his party message, this is the time that we are most needed. And as I can I have a different take on Baldridge, that it's people first. So we must take the lead. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to HR Hotline. Thank you, Ma'am Apple Manansala, for the opportunity. We will be back. We will be back. And we will have a more vigorous and more interesting topics to discuss, all for the love of the HR profession and practice, and all for the love of the People Management Association of the Philippines. This is Jesse Francis Rebustillo, Yus Mabalos,